Trump's Secretary of Defense just gave one of the biggest AI companies in the world an ultimatum. Drop your ethical guardrails and let the military use your tech however it wants or will force you to. Right? That's now what's being reported from multiple outlets after what's been described as a heated meeting between Pete Hegseth and the CEO of Anthropic. And the implications here, it goes way beyond one company and one contract. And for some background here, Anthropic, the company behind the AI model Claude, is one of the several AI firms that have started working with the military. In fact, last summer, they entered into a $200 million pilot contract with the Pentagon. But then in January, you had Hegseth issuing a memo directing AI companies to remove restrictions on their technology and give the military the ability to use these tools however it sees fit. And the argument was that the military should be able to deploy these systems to whatever extent it wants and only be limited by their understanding of the law and not by the guardrails that the companies have built in or the ethical lines that the companies have drawn. And so as a result, the various AI companies working with the Pentagon have had to renegotiate their contracts. And according to sources at the department, Elon Musk's xAI had no problem handing the government a blank check, essentially. Other companies, including Google, are reportedly getting close to similar deals. But Anthropic has reportedly been more cautious, agreeing to loosen some restrictions, but insisting that certain guardrails need to stay in place. And in fact, for months, Anthropic CEO has maintained both publicly and in private meetings that there are two things that the company just will not allow its technology to be used for: domestic mass surveillance and autonomous weapons that operate or may kill decisions without a human in the loop. He's called those uses illegitimate and prone to abuse. And according to sources, he reiterated exactly those sticking points in yesterday's meeting with Pentagon officials. But then Hegseth's response was to give an ultimatum: agree to the DOD's demands by this Friday or face the consequences. And as far as what those consequences actually look like, the reporting there has been a little mixed. Some outlets say that Hegseth threatened to both designate Anthropic as a supply chain risk and invoke the Defense Production Act, which allows the government to effectively seize control of a company's products. You also have other outlets reporting that it's more of an either or between those two options, which actually kind of makes more sense when you understand what each does. Right? Designating a company as a supply chain risk essentially blacklists it, cutting it off from future government contracts and requiring the government to stop using its products entirely. Right? And then invoking the Defense Production Act, it does the exact opposite. It would force Anthropic to let the military use its technology regardless of what the company wants. And so one option is essentially we'll never work with you again, and the other is you'll work with us whether you like it or not. So two very different levers, or I guess maybe more accurately, hammers. And then on top of that, there are also reports that Hegseth threatened to cancel the existing $200 million contract outright, though it's unclear how that would fit into the other scenarios. Now with all this, you have Pentagon officials telling reporters that this ultimatum has nothing to do with Anthropic's guardrails against surveillance and autonomous weapons. But really, not a lot of people trust that. And in fact, you have many experts saying that's exactly what this is. It's an attempt by Trump and his people to punish a company for setting basic ethical standards and refusing to blindly come to heel. And that's also what makes the story, this news, the situation bigger than just one contract negotiation. Because the question it raises isn't really about Anthropic, it's about whether any tech company can maintain ethical boundaries when the government has the legal tools to simply override them. We're in a moment where the Trump administration's pro-AI agenda is apparently too aggressive for the literal AI companies building the technology. And if a firm can be threatened with government seizure of its products for saying, we don't think AI should make kill decisions without a human involved, that should concern everyone, regardless of where you stand on AI or defense policy. But for now, we're gonna have to wait and see how this plays out by Friday, but it is definitely one it is important to watch. This is something that's gotten some attention, but it deserves a lot more.